Hello, everybody. Pop in, say hi, let me know where you're from. If you're new to my channel, my name is Cindy. I explore the inside and the out. I love nature, I love history, and I love exploring emotions, right? So that's where exploring the inside comes from, right? I practice mindset and mindfulness in the betterment of my life. So that's what I do, people. Sunday nights, I usually come in live and we go usually an hour and a half, right? And we chit chat about anything, whatever's on our minds lately. We got little things going on in the world right now, don't we? So we just kind of support each other, keep each other company. There have been things going on within my community. I've been keeping in touch with some of my followers and stuff. We kind of support each other along the way. And, we all have struggles out there. What? Okay, let me move my Trojan horse. You guys don't need, isn't that cool? Yeah, it's my Trojan horse. I got that at home since. So let's just throw that on the floor. Oh, much better. Looks a little bit bare. Here, maybe I can move over. Yeah, yeah, we just support each other here on Sunday nights and we just kind of hang out each other. And it usually takes a few minutes. And, Andrew, let's see if somebody today is going to beat Andrew into the live. And if Andrew didn't show up, there would be some big worrying going on my part, right? Because Andrew has yet to miss one of my live shows. So what's going on? As you can see, I am still in my apartment. I still have a roof over my head. I don't know how long it's going to last for. I am preparing, right? So I'm ready for the hairy scary. I've got boxes packed. I've got a little bit of money. Oh, Robert made it in today before Andrew. Ah. Oh, Robert, how amazing. Thank you so much for popping in. How are you doing tonight, right? I was actually saying that's what my channel's all about, is just kind of people popping in and us kind of supporting each other and stuff. And I said I challenged everybody, right? So let's see who can get in here before Andrew does. And, if Andrew didn't show up, it would be very, very important, or it would be something to worry about. So if Andrew didn't show up tonight, he would get an email from me after the live just to check on him for sure. I've gotten a little bit of news, from different places and all right, terrific, Robert. It's our night. And you know what? I am good on that. Like whoever wants to come in, whoever, has a lead the topic today, I'm happy to discuss anything. Today I was so deep into my emotions. I traveled back into each one of my decades of my life to really look at where some of my limiting beliefs came in and how my choices impacted my life, right? From my choices from 0 to 10. I don't know, you wouldn't think that I would have had choices at that age, right? That most parents make the choices for their kids, but somehow along the line, I made a choice. And that choice was to believe what I saw, what I felt, what I experienced, right, in those 0 to 10 age bracket. And I took those feelings of not feeling of value and not feeling worthy, and I believed it. That's what I experienced, and I took that to be true. Not everybody has those kind of experiences between the ages of 0 and 10, but that's where we learn the most, right? That's where we're most impacted and where our baseline of our values start, right? And I came from that. I came from, feeling neglected, feeling unloved, right? Feeling unworthy. Even at those very young ages, I felt that very, very strongly. And I was, like I said, I was writing it all day today. I was taking notes, and sure enough, I shared that on my live, and look at those scribbles. Like, what did I even think? I just finished doing my live show, and I tried to explain, this lesson, because I get lessons from so many people out there, just from friends, from family, from content that I search out online, right? I get it from all over the place. I just don't get it from people. I get it from life in general. And, I took a serious look that I wanted to put a lesson out there. What have I learned in my lifetime that I could pass that on to people that maybe they might be able to get a lesson out of it, right? And, I really kind of delved into it today. I did absolutely nothing for myself. I had nothing to eat. All I've been doing is drinking coffee. And look at just notes, notes, notes. And this book is only what I've been doing today. It has been nonstop. What I was actually doing. 19 years old. 19 years old. So it's been going on with you like that since you were 19 years old. You never got any insights into life getting any kind of better. How come you stayed with it, Robert? Why did you stay somewhere that made you so unhappy? Was it the responsibility that you felt? Like, I don't understand. Like, as bad as life got to me, I was always pretty headstrong, and that's usually what got me into trouble, right? Oh, Joel's here too. Awesome. Hi, Joel. Happy new week to you too, Joel. Yeah, we were just talking about choices and how it impacts our lives, right? And then I was looking back on each decade of my life, right? 5 decades. I'm not finished the 5th decade. So I talked about the 4 decades that I've gone through, and the one word that best represented each one of those decades, right? Now, the first word I had, what did I pick? Value. Value was I never felt value from 0 to 10. I just felt like a waste of space. I just felt unwanted, unloved, unvalued, right? And that was my experience as a child, right? So I picked that. I wrote here, and the one lesson I learned, right, in the one word was the word value, because I never felt value. And because I'm a true believer in light and dark and good and bad, I know this word value between 0 and 10 would have had a positive tone to it also. There would have been a positive lesson as well as the negative lesson. So obviously the negative lesson is the fact that I lost my self-worth, and I never felt the value right from the very beginning, right? It was something I have to train myself, and I have to teach myself and self-parent into myself even right now, right? Because again, at such an early age, I learned that and I believed it, right? Yeah, so I don't know who else, because lots of people, they don't wouldn't have a word from when they were like 0 to 10 years old. They wouldn't have had a word that best represented those years, right? I would love, if you have a word in your mind, I would love to hear what it was, because that would give me really good insight into your gifts and into your weaknesses and the problems at that age, right? So doing these lessons that I did today, even though I didn't explain it very well in my Instagram posts, they are full of great, great value, right? Oh, and you didn't want to accommodate it, or did you just shut down on that, or was she asking too much of you, Robert? Like, I would love to know what it was, that pressured you so much, right? We all have in our experiences, I would think, bosses that we don't appreciate, or bosses that didn't treat us so well. I know I myself had those experiences, and sometimes I brought them on myself, again with my limiting beliefs, but sometimes it was me. Sometimes it was, seriously, it was me that, and especially in I think my last job, was it my last job? that it was me, that I just couldn't bear it anymore and I just had to go, right? But yeah, life does that to us, and and unless we have the tools to deal with it, it's easy for people to spiral, right? Right? And then when people spiral, that's when the bad habits and the addictions arise, and we use those to calm down those limiting beliefs and those negative feelings that kind of chew on us, and like vinegar on a wound, right? Or salt in a wound, right? Yeah. But I would be interested to know what that was. Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that, right? I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, I myself too had bosses and that's part of the reason why I strive to be an entrepreneur, right? Why I strive to do something with my brand is the fact that it's difficult when you have limiting beliefs and you have to work under somebody else's ideas, right? If they're not the same ideas and that you want to support and that you want to believe in, right? It's really, really hard to take that drilling into being, representative of somebody else's dreams and somebody else's goals, right? And so quite often we'll be what's the word I'm looking for? Resentful, right? But when you think of it, there really is, who was it? Wayne Dyer. He says, there are no, it's all right there is no reason for resentment. There is no value reason for resentment. No, it isn't. There is no exceptions to resentment. It's a common one. I say this quote all the time, all the time. If anybody knows that quote by Wayne Dyer, yeah, there is no justifiable resentments. There's no justifiable resentments. That's what the word I was going to say. Hi, Melvin. How are you tonight? Let me just take a look at what these comments from Robert are. Okay. Right. So that's where the addictions came in, Robert, and that's how you started dealing with this one, right? And you stayed, right? You stayed in the relationship, but it looks like she also was being tolerant, right? Because if you were drinking, you weren't being the husband that she needed, right? So she would probably, when she thought you were cheating, that maybe she was really just worried, because when you're drinking, then you're not really yourself, right? I know I wasn't a big drinker, but I did work in bars, and on occasion, there were parties or there were get-togethers where I did drink too much. And when I did, for me, it made me more myself and made me more approachable, right? Because I would let my guard down a lot, right? Oh, I see. Yeah, and you got married, right? And then that again, exactly what I'm talking right now, Robert, is the choices, right? And the choices that you made, and you chose to get married at 20, and you probably chose that thinking that she was going to fulfill some of those gaps in your life, right? Nice to see you, Melvin. Nice to see you, Melvin. Chug-a-lug, chug-a-lug. Right? You know, alcoholism in my family is, it happens. Our family has kind of strange things, though. Like, we quit things just as quickly as we start them, right? And, addictions was very rampant in my family. My dad was a gambler, right? My grandfather was an alcoholic. My grandmother was an overeater. I was an overeater. I was an overeater too. we all deal with these limiting beliefs totally 100% differently than each other, right? Depending on the experiences we have, we might have similar experiences, so we might have similar traits, but because maybe yours was a little bit different, the way you handled it might been a little bit different, in doing, and it would have had a different outcome altogether, right? Yeah, I'm so grateful. Drinking would have been a hard one for me to overcome, but I never had an interest really in alcohol, even though there were times when I was drunk. Clearly, I remember, going to the bar and drinking and dancing and, opening up and having fun. And, I could see where your wife would worry for that, right? My husband, when I was married, my husband drank quite a bit too. My husband was a pretty big drinker. And because I was more mature than he was, I was kind of done with partying by the time I had gotten married, right? So I actually wanted my husband to have the life that he wanted. So if he wanted to go out, like I wasn't holding him back, and he quite often went off to clubs or even he even went to go see rippers all the time, like the exotic dancers. He'd go to watch them all the time. I never felt jealous. I never felt threatened. My husband was a very good looking man too. He was a very good looking man. And women were always chasing after him, right? And even when I was going out with him, there were women that were very resentful of me. I had one woman take a cigarette, I think it was a cigarette, and she did a great big V in the back of my hair like a week before I was getting married, and I had to wear like braids and stuff, and they made it look like it was gone, and then I ended up having to have a pixie cut right after I got married, right? And she would leave. They were on the same sports team and stuff, and she would plant stuff in his sports bag and stuff to make me jealous and stuff like that. Like, you know, so, but I never felt jealous. I trusted my husband completely. And even when we split up, right, when he said he never cheated on me, I 100% believe that my husband never cheated on me, right? I truly believe I didn't have a problem, right, when it came to keeping my husband, happy with me. But I never asked him when we split. I never asked him, and I didn't know until after we had been split for almost a year that my husband had post-traumatic stress disorder from a tour that he had done. He had done a couple of tours, right, in Croatia, but he had a pretty job that impacted him a lot, and he kept it from me. It's just the norm in the military not to show weakness, right? And he kind of kept it to himself and stuff, and it got noticed. And I learned through a padre or something what had happened, and then he talked a little bit about it and stuff when we met up, when he came to see me in Winnipeg or whatever. It went on. The breakup went on for a decade in itself, right? It doesn't mean that it wasn't a good marriage. It was a very, very good marriage up until it wasn't good anymore. But, it was equally my fault for not putting the effort in to be the person that he wanted. And, he's putting a lot of effort in. Like I could see it. He put a lot of effort into making me happy, right? He really did. And again, it was limiting my beliefs and my fear and intimacy and the lack of confidence that I had, right? Because I had, extreme lack of confidence at the time. And all of that contributed. In the end, it was nobody's fault. But I'm glad in the end that we were able to break it off amicably, right? Like really kindly, like, we stayed connected for 10 years. It was very painful in the end. So I just told him, like, we can't do this anymore. I'm not healing. I'm not getting past this. And we can't keep making promises to each other like that. And, I was beginning to feel like what do you call that? A side chick, right? And I was looking forward to his visits and stuff. And then I get heartbroken when he, we would change plans or not catch a flight or, not keep his promises. And I just felt like, what's the use? What am I doing? I'm putting my life on hold. And by the time I came out of that 10 years, by the time I told him that, that was it, I didn't want him to ever contact me again. And he never did, right? He never did contact me again. But, by that time, I was too old to go off and, have that husband, home, and family that I so desperately wanted and thought I was going to have with him, right? I just let my miserableness and my feelings of unworthiness compound, and the fact that I didn't have answers and I didn't seek out the answers. I let my imagination take over, and I have a great imagination, right? So I was telling myself all kinds of stories, right? The number one, obviously, if it was 10 years later and I still hadn't let go of the marriage, right? Even though we were separated, I hadn't let go of the chances of him coming to his senses and us, figuring it out again, right? We were just leading each other along, right? I had to end it. It was very painful. So it was kind of like I went through 2 breakups with that one, the initial one, and then the one 10 years later, which was it was heartbreaking because as soon as I said, don't ever call me again, I instantly regretted it, right? I instantly regretted it. You're late tonight, Andrew. Robert beat you tonight. Robert beat you to the live show tonight, right? So we were talking about the choices in our lives, right? The choices that we make in our lives. And then I was going to say, for each decade, everybody, this is a good lesson. I'm going to tell you the lesson now so everybody knows. And maybe next Sunday we can talk about it. For each decade of your life, think about it even better. Write about those first 10 years, those second 10 years, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. I've got people of all ages in my lives here that watch my content, right? So the lesson is, go into the first 10 years and if you don't have a clear impression or insight from those first 10 years, because lots of children don't, right? Only because they had really good parenting, right? Who did a really good job at making sure that their children were happy and healthy emotionally and physically, right? But then if that's the case, then go into your 10 or 20 years and reflect on those 10 or 20 years. And at each one of those decades, pick a word that best reflects that decade, right? Pick a word that best reflects that decade. Within that word is your gift to the world, what you were meant to give to the world, what you were meant to bring to the table, but also your greatest weakness in that 10 years. Right? I'll read one of mine only because I didn't do a very good job doing it on my lives, right? Let's do this one from my 20s, okay? This one from my 20s, between 20 and 30 years old. What was the choice I made that best describes that or most impacted that decade? What was the number one choice, right? The choice of having my gastric bypass between 20 and 30 years old, my biggest decision of my life that impacted my life greatly right until this moment, right, even, was my choice to have that stomach stapling and lose all that weight. I lost 160 pounds in 8 months, right? And, I became attractive at that point, right? And, I got some really big lessons. And actually, let me read this to you, okay? So 20 to 30 years, my choice was having my gastric bypass, which is a stomach stapling in order to lose weight. When I lost all that weight, I got a huge lesson in trusting my intuition. I always knew that there was some messed up reasonings in how I was perceived and how I was interacting within each of my networks, whether it was my friends, my family, my work relations, dating, even with just myself. Go ahead, chat amongst each other, right? Taking the lessons as I read this, and I'm going to come back and read those comments, and I'm going to help you guys with this too, right? My life was flipped on its head when I found myself being sought after in my company and adored for who I had transformed into without fixing anything on the inside of me. I lost that weight, but I still had all those limiting beliefs, right, about myself, right? Thinking that I'm unworthy, thinking that I'm ugly. I knew I wasn't fat at that point, but I certainly felt like I was unworthy, right, of any attention that I was. And I couldn't understand because growing up, my family, my close friends would always say to me, Cindy, it's what's in this inside that counts, not the outside. I was always an obese child, right? Always had problems. And people, when they would try to cheer me up, they always say, Cindy, you're beautiful. It's what's in the inside that counts, right? And then I lost all that weight. And I looked different, but inside I had the exact same securities as when I was 311 pounds. And it was clear that what on the outside was truly what did count, right? Because I was treated so differently. People were approaching me, seeking out my company, right? Took an interest in what I had to say. I was treated so differently. And I came to believe, right? Or I came to understand the truth, or what I perceived as the truth, that truly it did matter, right? What was on the outside compared to what was in the inside, because nobody was even interested in getting to know what was going on in the inside, right? So again, I was sought after in the company and I was adored for who I had transformed into without fixing anything on the inside. Inside, I still felt like a zero. And even growing up with being told that it was what the inside that really counted, I was crushed to learn that others didn't see it that way. Since then, I was determined to always trust in those initial intuitions that I had about people, right? And those initial feelings of mine, and look for the goodness of people and start with looking at the inside before looking for it on the outside, right? And I started dating men that weren't super attractive, right? That, that might not have had the chance to go out with somebody who, at that time, people considered me attractive. After I lost that weight, people considered me attractive, right? But I had made the choice that I wasn't going to date people superficially by what I wanted, what I thought was attractive in other people. I was going to start looking at people's inside and start looking at, being drawn to people's inner self. And that's what I started doing. I started feeling people out and I started checking people out to see what they were really like on the inside. And those were the kind of men that I dated. And the thing is, what I discovered on that is that those men had exactly, here's to you, Robert, right? This is to you, had the exact same limiting beliefs as I did, right? Thinking that they were unworthy, thinking that they didn't have any value in their existence, that they had nothing to contribute to the table of life, right? Accepting what was given to them. So what I was doing is my feelings were resonating with their feelings, and I ended up being a trauma bonder, right? I started bonding with their trauma, right? And not bonding with them. In actuality, I was even deterred and put off, right? At that time, I wasn't awake. So I could actually now look at it as a lesson in myself because, those qualities would not have been something I would have been attracted to. But in going out with these guys, they were putting their best foot forward, opening the door, paying for dinner, showing me love, holding my hand. They did they did cartwheels. They did cartwheels for me, right? And they would inquire after me or phone me. At those times it wasn't text, it was phone calls, right? They would hang out in the places where I would go and stuff. And if I would go off and see somebody else, I actually would get negative feedback from that because they had already put their claim on me without there being anything there and it only being an acquaintance or a date. And I found that to be very scary. And I found that to be very pressuring because I'm somebody who had a hard time saying no. It would get me into all kinds of trouble with the guys, right? I had a very hard time saying no. And that was one of the reasons why after losing the weight that I so quickly jumped into the relationship with my soon to be husband at the time, right? And, I was very lucky. I picked somebody very similar to me. And, sure enough, he may have had some limiting beliefs, but you would never have known it. He never showed it. He always showed positivity. He always had the kindest heart, always helping everybody. And I'm thinking about it now too. Could my husband have been awoken to something I wasn't at the time? Right? Could that have contributed to the end of our marriage? I don't know. But in reference to Robert, right? Our limiting beliefs, right? I got to the point where, after my separation, I had a hard time being alone. I jumped from one guy to the next, just hoping to meet somebody who was willing to accept me for who I was. And I just ended up being whatever character they expected of me, too, right? So, eventually I got tired of that because I wasn't getting anything from those relationships. I was just giving, giving, giving. And again, I couldn't get out of them, right? They would just, they would just make me feel bad. And I would always feel bad. And like I said, I had a difficult time saying no. So, it was another reason why I got married so quickly after I had lost all that weight because I didn't know how to be a skinny person and be comfortable in the skin that I had. I was a new person and I didn't know how to relate as that person. I hadn't healed the inside, right? When I healed the outside. So no wonder over the decades I had gained all that weight back, right? And then just recently in this past year, did I properly lose that weight because I was properly working on my limiting beliefs, right? So, that's what happened to me, right? But like I said, so did I finish reading this for everybody? Um, uh, so since then, I was determined to always trust in those initial feelings of mine and look for the goodness on the inside before looking for it on the out. And I was blessed to have a variety of characters gifted into my life, sharing wisdom and interests that I might never have known if I had sought after those I wanted to be rather than finding the ones that I might have found that appreciated me, right? In one word, in those 10 years of the ages of 10 to 30, I learned to believe in my intuition, right? Intuition was the word. So again, that was the lesson, right? Good and bad. Now it's written down. Now I know what my limiting beliefs are. I've compacted it into a page and a half, those 10 years. I clearly know my word, intuition. So that is my gift, intuition. But there's something negative in the intuition, right? And the intuition in that is I I could see the messed up in people and the way people thought and the way people treated each other and everything, right? I could clearly see that. And I lost out on relationships because, I molded myself. I molded myself into the expectations of those people to avoid conflict, right? Yeah, I can clearly see it. There are all kinds of lessons in this, right? But, but do that same lesson. So now that I've done that to 10 to 30, I did the same thing from the ages of 30 to 40 until I've gotten my values, right? My 4 values, not 5 values, because I haven't finished my 50s yet. We know what a killer year I've had just in this past year and how many changes I've gone through in this past year. So I wouldn't even stop to think, right? Or assume to think what that one word lesson would have been for this decade. But I can pretty much guarantee it would have been kindness or it would have been believe. And I said earlier in my live that it would have to be kindness, right? It would have to be kindness would have been the lesson for this decade because I always believed. I always, even a little as a child, right? I always believed something deep inside of me would not let me not believe, right? And I wouldn't have gotten as far as I am right now if at some level I didn't believe, right? Okay, so now I'm going to take a look at a few of these comments and see who's in. I worked on this all day. This is going to be the basis, my foundation for my TEDx talks. How our choices in life impact our life, and how at any moment, Robert, this is for you, how at any moment you can make a new choice. You can make a different choice. And that's the scary part for people because people are afraid to make change, right? People like us, our limiting beliefs is sometimes we just are afraid of that change. And sometimes we just have to boot ourselves or get somebody to boot us for us, right? To actually make those changes. And I've been very grateful in my life. As much as I complain about some people, they actually push me into action, right? I wouldn't be where I am right now without people and their limiting beliefs, right? And their gifts and their inputs. But at the same time, I'm contributing to my own life too, negatively and positively, right? Okay, so let's look at some of these. Let's look at some of these lessons here and see who's here. Melvin, that's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing that you chose you first, right? Now, were you able to contribute to the world in making those choices of not getting married, right? And working on your finances, right? And traveling the world? Were you able to positively impact other people's lives in doing that, right? Because you weren't married, so obviously you weren't contributing to your wife and to the children unless you got children outside of your marriage, right? Right? But it's important to give back along the way, whether it's your insight. And like that's why I throw out my journey, because in my deepest soul, right? I wonder, where are my gifts? Why are my gifts not working to help to improve my life right now? Because I don't see it. My life is a total mess as it is right now. But, somehow these gifts are supposed to impact my life somehow. And how come I don't see it in any way, right? So I give. I know it's important to give out there, but I feel if I have nothing to give, right? Because nothing's working for me. If I have nothing to give, well, maybe it's in my experience that I'm offering that is the gift for everybody, so that, you see how my limiting beliefs stop me from moving over and affect, and my choices affect my life, that maybe you would think to maybe make better choices for yourself, and know that at any moment in your life, you could make a new choice. You could change things. And I make choices every single day. Like today, when I chose not to go for a walk, not to go and get any groceries, not to have any dinner yet, not to what else was I supposed to do? Not to go bottle digging. I was thinking of maybe going bottle digging today. I didn't do that. I didn't clean my house. I didn't do anything, but I was productive, because even though this is insightful and this is working on my limiting beliefs, and believe me, there were lots of lessons in this today for me, right? And it was difficult. It was truly an action, because this, like I said, is going to be the foundation of my TEDx talk, right? I am going to one day I'm going to do a TEDx talk. And I always thought it was going to be on epigenetics, right? I thought maybe at one time it might have been on forgiveness, but no, I think it's going to be on choices, because I've made some doozy choices, some good choices, amazing choices, and some very, very bad choices in my life. And these are the things that come across our paths, right? Like that one major choice that impacted your life in those decades, those were meant to happen, right? Those were already planned. I truly believe that, every major choice that I made in each one of those decades was meant to happen. It was meant for me for that choice to come to my table in front of me, for me to choose whether to pick up that lesson or not, or to make the right choice or not, right? And then to go down those paths that I chose, right? And sometimes I went way far down paths that I should never have been on, right? And sometimes I made amazing choices. Like I would never have discovered mindset and mindfulness if I hadn't sought out those videos, right? And I actually took an interest in bettering myself. I would never have discovered that, right? So again, let's go back to these comments and see what's going on. But yeah, I would be interested in knowing that. I'm getting down there. Melvin's here. Andrew's here. Owen's here too. Oh, hi, Owen. Hi, Owen. Oh, so your second marriage. I remember you talking about that last year, Robert. I remember you talking about your wife cheating on you last year and how it impacted your life, right? Yeah. My sister dated a boy that I was interested in. Like I knew there wasn't any chance of me and him hooking up or anything, but just the fact that my sister knew how much I cared for this guy, right? And how much I would have loved to have been his boyfriend. And she went ahead and she just went in there and she just scooped him up, and they went out for quite a while. And I was very upset with her. I didn't talk to her for the longest time. I eventually forgave her and forgot about it, and actually into this conversation. But at the same time, I eventually forgave her because, yeah, it wasn't meant for me, and nobody should deny themselves. I mean, it would have been different, right? Like, your brother slept with your second wife, right? But if it was truly meant to be, if there were actually attachments there and everything, it would have been a different feeling. But, yeah, your second wife, you didn't, that was your choice. You didn't choose well in that, right? And you kind of got trapped in that relationship, right? And so I can understand perfectly where you come from in that. But myself, not experiencing cheating in itself, like I never went out with enough guys, all my relationships that way were kind of casual, right? So I didn't have a say in who they slept with or anything, right? And I actually went out with a guy well, I didn't go out with him, but I called him not my holiday guy, because during every single holiday for years, he would come and visit me for holidays, right? And, it was a very casual relationship, but it was a very tight, close relationship. I cared for him deeply, and he was very attractive, and I enjoyed his company and everything. But I don't know where I was going to go with that. I was going to go somewheres. With that. I'm going to find the comment again, and I'm going to know where to pick up from there, right? Oh, right. And so I was going to say for 4 years, and then after 4 years, I discovered that he was well into a relationship and had actually had a child in that time that we were spending time together. I didn't consider us in any kind of relationship. It was a very casual relationship, but like I said, it was no kind of relationship at all if he couldn't come and we could have these conversations about it, right? Because what was he doing to his wife? If I had known, well, it wasn't a wife, it was a girlfriend, but still, if I'd known he was that close with somebody, I would never have even had a casual relationship. I would never have spoken to him again, right? So I didn't have a choice in that. It was only after I discovered, and it was that very same night again, right? And I never saw him again after that, and I truly ended it there too. I was very quick to end a relationship, very, very quick to end a relationship that way, right? Right. And you're 100% right there, Andrew. It's all about awareness, right? When we're unaware, we just go about and we just what do you call that? Wreak havoc on things, don't we? Especially ourselves. It's so easy to delve into bad habits and addictions, right? After my marriage fell apart, I made friends to the video lottery terminals, right? I would sit there feeling like I was being sociable, working in the bars, interacting with people. But if I was concentrated on the screen, right? If I was concentrating on the screen rather than other people, I didn't have to interact with anybody, right? I was heartbroken. I wanted to be around people. I wanted to have people in my life and stuff, but I lost how to do that. And I didn't trust that I could trust people anymore. So, that was my way of socializing, being present amongst all that action and all those people that I wanted to be around, but not really being there because I was laser focused on the screen in front of me. And then it got to the point that I would only feel like a winner when I won. So I was always putting money into those video lottery terminals, chasing after being a winner. Holy moly, there's an insight for me too, right? This day is full of insights. These days are full of insights, right? But like I said, I do this because it's important for me to share the journey, because that's the gift that I have, right? That's what I'm able to do, like physically, it's not like I can do donations and stuff. I've got myself so spread out now that I can barely keep the things that I want to be responsible, that I can barely get these things done, and it kills me, and I go without sleep, and I put myself under a lot of pressure and stuff to accomplish what I say that I'm going to accomplish, right? That I can't take on anymore, right? So I can't go out and earn extra money. I could. It just hasn't come to me. I've got this big idea about my auctions, right? Big ideas about putting on a big auction this winter to raise enough money to get a car, right? I won't need much. I don't need anything expensive, right? Even though I want something that's very expensive, right? I got to say it because it's part of my manifestations, right? And the universe, I know, is working on getting that Jeep Unlimited with the great big monster tires and the great big bull bar and the great big red lights across the top of it, right? Yeah, wants me to have that vehicle, and I'm manifesting. I'm dreaming of it, right? It's gonna land in the front of the street for me with a big red bow on it, and I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna know that Jeep is mine, right? I'm just gonna know it, right? So I'm manifesting these things, right? And I believe in this. You've kept a journal since you were 15. I just actually started my journal last year. I did it off and on as a teenager and stuff like that, but until I found mindset and mindfulness, I was never much of somebody putting my ideas pen to paper, right? But I sure do now, like notes. Like I've got like just notes just absolutely everywhere's now. Right? And that's how I imprint on myself, because if I write it down, then I know I will remember things much better, right? So let's get back to the comments here. I missed quite a bit. You guys have been yapping since I've been yapping. But yeah, the lesson for each 10 years of your life, right? Contemplate or write it down and look at it. And that would be the best thing for you to, Andrew, because you could go right to your diary. You could go right to diary and just flip to different stages in those 10 years and to see what your main lesson was in that year, because or your main choice that you made that impacted your life for the next 10 years, right? And inside of that, you'll find your value. And inside your value, you'll find the lessons, good and bad, right? Yeah. I'll have it down packed. I'm going to clean it up. It's how I'm explaining it. I should have explain it properly, but I'm just getting those messages and those lessons myself. So I just started jotting it down. And what it is, it's like I said, it's my baseline. It's the baseline for my TEDx talk, the talk of my TEDx talk, which is now choice, right? Because everything that's ever happened to me is because of the choices that I have made in my life, even the choices that I'm making right now. And I don't expect that will ever end, right? And the same lessons for you guys, right? Everything that happens in your life is based on a choice that you made, right? And in a week, so it'll be your gift will help you pull you out of it, but your weakness is what's going to try and pull you down, right? Oh, wow. Oh, it's got a strong personality like that, right? Robert, that's absolutely just like, nobody deserves to feel that way, right? Nobody deserves to feel that way. But yeah, there were still choices that you could have made. There's still choices you can make right now, Robert, in all of that, right? And yet we choose to sit in it and to accept it as if that's all we're worthy of. And you're worthy of so much more, because you just being open the way you are right now, Robert, the way you're being open with us right now, it's all lessons for all of us, right? Every single one of us, even those of us, right, that have blessings in their life, can be grateful, right, through your experience, right, that they can feel blessed for the life that they have, right? So, it's the goodness, right? You being open enough and brave enough to actually talk about it, right? And to actually give us lessons in that, right? And be grateful. Be grateful for the lives that we have. And you too, Robert, there are things that you could do for yourself that could improve your life greatly. Even in myself, I know there are things I could do right this moment that could greatly improve my life, right? Again, it's a matter of whether we choose to or not, right? You're 100% right, Owen. It's very important to actually do that, is to share your views, share your thoughts, share your feelings, right? Because you need to rebound. If you keep it in your brain, if you keep it all inside of you, like, how is anybody supposed to help you? How do you get support in your healing, right? We live in a new age now, right, Robert? This is for you too. We live in a new age, right? You're watching me right now with these lessons and these conversations that we're having with the guys and the ladies, I'm sure, right? I'd love to have some more of the ladies' insight on this topic, because the ladies are the ones that understand the relationships, right? And because even though I've had a few casuals, right? They weren't close relationships, right? And the few close relationships I had, they wouldn't be pertinent to your story, but somebody in here has a similar story to you, right? Right? Or has the experience under the belt and actually came out of it on the other end a much better person, and might have that answer for you. But unless you say something and share, like Robert's doing, how do we get these answers? How does anybody even know that there's a problem that needs to be looked at, right? And again, if somebody's had the same experience as you down the road, or pops into my video, right, somewhere's down the road, and they see your comment, right, then maybe they'll search you out and give you advice, right, that would be beneficial for you to move forward, and in your evolution, so that you're better prepared for something better coming into your life, right? Even though we're mature, like for me, I'm totally 100% open to, don't be chasing me down, don't be chasing, because it's going to be 100% my choice when I'm ready to do, because I know I'm going to make an amazing partner. But I'm going to make an amazing partner for that person that resonates with me. I'm not going to make any bad choices in my life, and I'm not going to hand my power over, right? Like, none of you guys should ever hand over your power. What did Owen say? He would never ever allow anybody to kick him out of his house, he said, right? So where Owen's strength is protecting what is his, right? Right? Oh, Nancy's here too. Hi, Nancy. We were just talking about, we would love to have some of the insight from the ladies on this topic. We're talking about choices and how they impact our lives positively and negatively, right? And how we should look at each 10-year block of our lives and look at the one choice that impacted us in those 10 years that influenced the next 10 years, right? And look at the negative aspect and the positive aspect of that choice, and see where you made your mistakes, or where you actually did good and moved yourself forward, right? Because if you made mistakes, you know what? It's never too late to correct them, right? And choose a new path, right? Oh, wonderful, Nancy. I'm glad we talked yesterday. She sent me pictures of her Halloween train. Nancy, can you leave a link to your site there, so everybody here on Halloween night, including, not Halloween night, on October 30th, Nancy's going to put on a presentation of her Halloween trains on her platforms in her town, right? So she wants everybody to join her. It's going to be absolutely amazing. So if Nancy, if you're still here before you've left, if you're still here, if you can leave the link so that everybody could make note, just add it to key or write it down. October 30th. And what time, Nancy? What time you want everybody there? Right? It's going to be Pacific time for everybody. Right? Make note. It's going to be Pacific time because she's in Seattle. and she's going to be doing a marvelous presentation. And she sent me pictures of her trains, and they're so beautiful. She did such an amazing job. You did such an amazing job, Nancy. So for sure, leave that link. Okay, let's come down in the comments. I'm not sure if Nancy's still here, but I'll message her, and maybe she can leave her link in a comment on once this turns into a YouTube channel or a YouTube video, once it's finished going live. See, well, maybe that's your intuition, right? Maybe that's your intuition, Robert. Maybe you need to be, checking in on that first wife and see how she's doing. Have you talked to her lately? Have you seen her? Does she live in your town? Do you cross paths with her? Do you have children with her, right? Maybe that's a sign to say, hey, it wouldn't hurt to check in on her, just to say, I was thinking about you, and right, I would love to hear what you were doing, what you've been doing on with your life. And at that point, you can tell her what you've been doing with yours. And maybe you'll realize that it was a big mistake ending that marriage. And then maybe there's some happiness for you along the a way, that there's a little bit of healing, and that you're able to move on, whether it was with her or whether it's with somebody else. You don't know unless you make that choice to try, right? Well, Robert, I'm so glad that you actually do open up here. Like, I can't believe that you don't talk to anybody about it. But you know what? Maybe if you contacted your first wife, if she's still in the neighborhood, if you think that she might be interested in even saying hello and touching base with you, that maybe you guys could become friends again, and slowly build that bond and that trust up again, to know that you won't hurt each other again. And then maybe find that little bit of happiness, especially when you say that you still love your first wife. And that could have contributed to your second wife's insecurities, right? We have to take responsibility for what we do wrong, not just what we do right, right? Right? If you really are honest with ourselves, if we're really honest with ourselves, in the end, we made those choices, right? We made those choices. Right? 100%. This is what Andrew says. I have had more experience than you. He wasn't referring to himself. He was referring to a movie, The Best of Everything. I have had more experience than you, and for experience to be of value, somehow, someone must learn from it. I said someone, and somehow I did it opposite, but you know what I mean, right? And so true. Right? And didn't that take courage? You're 100% right, Owen, right? It takes courage. This stuff, that these personal things and these personal limiting beliefs that we have, right? These negative aspects and these weak, where we think we are weak, these weak aspects that we have in our life, right? And I'm just looking at this picture of myself, and I'm going to say something. Let me show you this. This is me. This is me. I would say probably I was maybe 24, 25 years old, right? 311 pounds. I was so happy then. I had situated myself in the most amazing, fascinating, intriguing, right? Fun group of people that I could have ever asked to been a part of. And I was truly happy, right? No boyfriends that whole time. I never had any boyfriends during this whole time. But, I had my friend Brian, right? My best friend in the whole world. I was madly in love with this guy. He had everything that I really wanted in the guy. And he was good looking. He was good looking, but again, right? I guess I had been feeling out those hearts. And because of my limiting beliefs, right? And my self-worth issues, he was the one that I actually decided to have the stomach stapling for, right? I wish I had a picture right here of Brian. I love Brian absolutely to death. And I loved his brother too. And I'm very grateful that my brother-in-law, Ian, right, who was Brian's brother, is a part of our family, right? What a gift. My brother, he takes such good care of my sister and my niece. He takes such good care. He works hard and he doesn't take any happiness for himself, right? He does it all for his family. And, he has little things. He loves bike riding, right? He loves bike riding. I know he has his favorite shows, and right. But he could have had so much more for himself. But again, it was the choices that we make in our lives. And it's the choices that each of us make that nobody else has a say in. Because again, we don't talk about it. We keep it to ourselves. And then until we're forced to make these decisions without talking to anybody. And at that time, sometimes we do such painful hurt to ourselves and others, right? That it's so hard to overcome, right? It's just too hard to overcome. But again, my limiting beliefs, right? And this here being this weight, okay? Was because I loved chocolate cake and pastries, even though I did love chocolate cake and pastries. This was my safety mechanism. I had that weight on so that I would, again, my conversation, so that I wouldn't have to deal with intimate relationships, right? That because I had my own limiting beliefs and I was afraid to get into relationships, right? That fear was groomed into me all my life until I took hold of it and made it my own. And I did that to myself, right? And it stopped me from having the life that I want, right? But Robert, I'm not saying it's over for me, and I'm not delving into my limiting beliefs, and I'm not depending on my addictions to pull me through, right? I've given up some huge things that made a huge, I prayed and prayed and prayed. I said, please, please, please. Like, I can't be a VLT addict, a video lottery terminal addict. I just can't be a gambling addict. I can't, please, right? It's destroying my life. It probably contributed to my marriage falling apart because, again, I spent so much time in front of the VLT instead of being with my husband where I should have been side by side with him. But instead, I was sitting in front of a machine trying to be a winner. The craziest things that don't make sense in our lives, right? And in our thinking, and yet we just carry on with them, right? And this is what I've been doing for how many years now? I don't know, but I've been working on these limiting beliefs, right? There's Nancy's link, right? So everybody, I'm just going to copy that link now. Just going to save it to my I don't know. I'm just going to save it to my pictures. There we go. Right? Save the link to my pictures. I'll find it. Halloween night, I will be there, right? And what time is it, Nancy? Did Nancy say? Oh, there we go. 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on her YouTube channel on October 30th. Wouldn't it be lovely if some of us came there and supported Andrew, right? Make it to her YouTube channel and let's spend some time going live. We're going live with Nancy on we call it Hell Night, don't we? Here in Manitoba, we call it Hell Night. Oh, perfect, right? Perfect, Owen. I'm glad. I'll be there too, Owen. I'll be there too. Let's all support Nancy like we support her here. and yeah, get to know some of Nancy's followers, right? And enjoy some of the things that Nancy enjoys, and the light that she's going to bring to that evening, right? That we'll all be deserving of. I will make sure 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. So I'll have to make sure, I'll have to check my schedule on that too, because I know she's made the schedule. But at the very least, I'll come in. Oh, I'm going to try my darndest to get home early that night. I'm going to rush home. And yeah, I'll check my schedule and I'll have a plan for that. What day is that? Because if it's a Saturday or Sunday, I really don't have to worry because the store closes early on Saturday and we're not open on Sunday, right? Hence that I'm here right now, right? Yes, that's going to be absolutely amazing. It sounds like a plan, right? On the 30th, and I'll email the people that are on my crew here, the ones that I have their email addresses and stuff. And if you don't, like, you could DM me or email me or contact me through my channel, and you know what? We'll all get together that night. We're going to support Nancy. That's exciting. I'm excited now, right? So, okay, go, Nancy. You said you were making it short. You got things to do. You got an inspection coming up, right? You got an inspection coming up. So, yeah, that will, right? Yeah, that's what I'll do is I'll just message everybody on my Instagram and I'll message everybody on my YouTube with the link, with Nancy's link, so that we can go and, right? And support Nancy that day. Nancy, will you be sure to send me that link too? I'll probably email you in the next couple of days. But if you think of it, can you kind of message that link to me on my Instagram too, so that I can share that with my viewers over there? Oh, it's a Friday. Yeah, on a Friday they need me, so I'll probably won't be home until 7:30 that night. Yeah, maybe quarter to 8. We'll see. I'll check the schedule on that and I will let you know that. But yeah, if you message me with the link, I will be sure to share that out, and I'm going to do my darndest to make sure that I am there. They may even have me being first one on, and if I'm first one on, then maybe I'll be first one off, which means I'll be home by 5 o'clock, right? It's quite possible. I don't think it's going to be a problem at all. Yeah. I'm putting it out there. I'm there, Nancy. Trust me. One way or another, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to be there, right? Yes, it'll be fun. So, everybody, let's lighten it up, right? Oh, perfect, Robert. Perfect. I look forward to Owen and right? And anybody else that watches the lives after the show, right? Make sure you save that link and make sure that on Hell's Night on October 30th that we're all going to be there to support Nat. It's going to be fun. Her Halloween trains are absolutely amazing. I don't know. The picture didn't come out really big, but let's see if I can show everybody the picture Nancy sent me on that. I'm losing my voice because I just finished my live show on Instagram too, right? And so I'm doing back to back tonight. And I think I did 40 minutes over there, but let's see if I can pull up that picture. Yeah, it's not a very big picture. You can't really see her trains and her Halloweens. Yeah, even with the lighting, you can't see it very well. But let me see if I can find a better. Oh, here's a good picture. I don't know if you can see her Halloween setup. She's got it all sorted out. That's her platforms in her village, right? Her town and her railway. Yeah, so it's going to be lots of fun. Oh, I've just dropped all my cards on the floor. But yes, Robert, we appreciate, and it's absolutely exactly what Andrew says, your courage in actually sharing, your story and your problem and talking about it. It gives other people permission to do the same, right? To do the same. Oh, wonderful, wonderful, right? That's really nice that we care for each other. We care for each other like that, right? But yeah, we're missing some people tonight. Some people didn't come into our lives tonight, but we know they'll pop in later, right? We know it's wonderful that Robert was here, right? Robert's been with us for the past few weeks, but David's not here. David Lopez, right? Thinking of you, dear, and I hope everything's okay. I know your flock needs you and stuff, and you'll probably pop in later. So you know what? I'm sending out best wishes for you. Kim, thinking of you. Karen, I know you're gonna watch later. Sharon, I know you're gonna watch later. Like, right? Sending my hellos to everybody. Kathy, right? I know you'll be in for sure later on, right? Hello. Hope everything is going good for you. But I hear from Nancy almost every single day. She gives me a thumbs up or a nice comment, and or she comes in and hangs out with me on my lives on Instagram, right? Of course you do, Robert. Of course you do. You're a big part of this. You're a big part of this crew. And you know how important you are? Here we go. You're going to get a request there in a second, and we're going to see what your next comment says, right? Because I've just given Robert the wrench. Robert now has the wrench. Anybody who has the courage to speak up and speak his truth, right? And share his feelings, his lessons out there for other people, right? You more than deserve the wrench. I don't know if you want the wrench, but you got it. You got it anyway, right? Take care. There you go. There you go, Robert. He got his wrench, right? Robert got his wrench. Well deserved. You deserved it, right? Because you're giving lessons out there, and you are a friend to this channel, and you're a friend to everybody, who represents and comes in and joins us, right? And look at, even Andrew agrees. Even Andrew agrees that you deserve that wrench, right? Now you're gonna have to kick out the riffraff when the riffraff comes in, right? Owen and Nancy, Andrew, they're pretty good. They put messages on hold for my review and stuff like that. It's really, really cool. They take really good care of the channel. And I've never had a problem. That's why people are feel so free to be able to interact and say their truth on my channel, because that's what it's there for us to help each other, right? And the insights that I have gotten and the friendships that I have gotten and the kindnesses, right, Andrew? The kindnesses that I have gotten on this channel, right? I look so forward to being that philanthropist that can rain that sunshine on the lives of people who need it just as much as I needed it, right? In the hopes that maybe you'll go search out the answers too, right? You should feel better, right? Because your purpose in life comes from your pain. Robert, your purpose in your life comes from your pain. We all know now what your pain is. Now it's time to figure out what your purpose is, right? In giving you that wrench, right? You're speaking your truth. You're helping people out there, to know that it's okay and that they're not alone, that there are other people out there going through the same thing that they're going through and have the same feelings that you have, but they're bottled up inside, right? They don't know who to talk to. They don't trust anybody, right? They think nobody has their best interest or wishes them well. So they don't say anything, right? They don't share their truth. And then, like I said, Robert sharing his truth gives permission for other people to share their truth, which is kind of like what I'm doing, right? I'll yap about anything. I yap about my limiting beliefs. I yap about my struggles all the time, right? Right now, I'm sitting in a 100-degree apartment because the radiators can't be turned off. Otherwise, the two other tenants on my floor won't have any heat, right? But I'm not complaining about it. I'm just enduring it the best I can. And on top of that, the whole apartment block is listening to my live because my front door is open so that the breeze can come through the window and out the front door, right? I'm trying to keep the apartment cool, right? I got to keep it comfortable for the cat too, right? But unless we share our struggles, nobody knows, right? Nobody knows. Nobody could give you a hand, right? Andrew gave me a hand last month, right? But he would never have given me that hand unless he knew a bit about my story and know that I would have appreciated that, right? And now that we know that Robert, right? What's going on with Robert and how he felt in his past and how far it pushed him right to the edge that he actually considered making some serious, impactful decisions, right? Again, choices, but he chose different. Sorry, I really truly am losing my voice. It is. It's very, very hot. It's very hot in here. And especially when my bed is pushed up against the wall. But the landlord's been very decent. He knows what the situation is that I am. The radiators have to be drained in my apartment in order for me to able to work my thermostat in order to bring the heat down, right? In order to turn my heat off. But it's the weekend. There's nothing I can do, right? And at first I thought they were just trying to heat me out of my apartment, but no, it's just because the radiators haven't been drained. But he's been kind enough to turn the heat on the building off periodically so that the temperature would come down so it's able to cool off a little bit, right? And I can hear that it's on right now because I can hear the water every once in a while click into place, right? And getting hotter. But, I expect that he'll turn off maybe before he goes to bed and then wake up in the middle of the night just to turn it back on. So he's being fair in that, like, and I've got to be tolerant and I've got to think of the other neighbors too, right? I don't want them to feel uncomfortable. You know, being too cold is just as bad as being too hot, and winter is starting to set in here, right? Okay, let's just take a couple of minutes to take a look at these comments and see what's going on before we call it alive, right? We call it alive. Like Robert, I'm so grateful that you shared again. We're gonna figure this out. I know we talked about this before, right? And about you moving on and you finding a new partner in life, right? It's time. It's time for you to move on. You've clung on to a relationship for too long that it's no longer even a relationship. It's just it's just something that is just like a needle in your butt that you have to just yank out and just move on, right? Just move on. And the more you share, the more chances we have to throw ideas out there and insights out there that might help you to make, a decent decision. My idea is, why not contact that first wife of yours just to see? Just say, oh, I was thinking about you, so I thought I would phone just to see how you were doing. If you could do that, right? You never know where it might lead, right? Yeah, I got my windows open here, but yeah, the heat is a lot, especially when I try to sleep, and because I sleep on a little bit less sleep than, I usually go on 5 or 6 hours a day, but it's dead sleep. It's really solid dead sleep where I get a lot out of it, right? It's not like I'm waking up every 5 minutes and tossing and turning and stuff. I'm having a really good sleep in those 5 or 6 hours, but I won't be able to have that good sleep if that heat is blasting on me, right? So to me, it's very uncomfortable. At least when it's really, really cold, you can put blankets on. That's how I consider it, right? Like, I would prefer my heat to be completely off, and I'm happy to sit here in a pair of snow pants and a jacket, right? And stay cozy warm. Good, Robert. Good, Robert. I'm looking forward to hearing what else you have to say because we're going to figure this one out, Robert. And if anytime you want to come live with me on my Instagram, we can work this out, face to face. And yeah, I'm happy to help. You can DM me. We can do it privately too, Robert. We can do it privately. I would be happy to contribute to that conversation and to listen to what you have to say and maybe help you find some better solutions than the one that you're living with, right? Because it sounds like it's not much of a way of to live right now, right? Yeah. Yeah. I've had the same interactions, Robert, as you. I've had narcissists in my life my entire life. They never think they're wrong. Narcissists always think they're right, especially when they're blatantly wrong. I've had interactions and debates with narcissists when they were clearly wrong, and even when you show them the proof, right? They'll change their story to say, oh, but that's what I was saying to start with. You just didn't understand. And they turn it around because, they're never, ever wrong, the narcissist. They always think that they're the smartest people out in the world and that they've got it together more than anybody else. Narcissists over the next generations are going to become more pertinent, and it's going to become the norm, right? That people are going to think very highly of themselves, and they're not going to trust. It comes from trust, right? Trust being broken, or never having trust in something. It comes from trauma, right? And yeah, but definitely we're going to talk about it more. Oh, you know what? My computer's getting old too, but it still works really, really great, right? Yeah. I'm thinking about getting a laptop at work, but right now I'm saving money and I'm holding on to money, right? Just so that, I can get out of my situation. If an opportunity arises, I have a few funds that I can do something to make things work a little bit better in my favor, right? I'm just reading some of these comments about what's going on in the world, right? We had another 85 cases here in Manitoba today of the virus, and those numbers are rising. And I expect the Thanksgiving numbers we should be seeing right away now, too, right? Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that, Melvin. Oh, definitely. These things happen, right? These things happen. And even though we have to take responsibility for things, even though we have to take responsibility for these things, these actions that we take, right? They're all caused by limitations in the beliefs in ourselves, in our self-confidence, in our self-worth, right? It's all about feeling like we are enough, right? And nobody should ever feel like they are not enough, like never. But yes, we're going to talk about this again on next Sunday. I hope everybody has a great week. Like I said, everybody is more than welcome to contact me, to DM me through Facebook or Instagram. Um, I would be happy to chit chat with you. You never know where these conversations go, right? Like, to get some great insight that just kind of makes us feel better, makes us feel like, maybe there's something worth living out there, right? Give us some little goals, right? If we can do for others, right? Realize that our purpose comes from our pain, and that Robert sharing his story is going to help somebody else who's going through the same thing as he is, right? And then him getting himself back on his feet and getting into that relationship that he wants and that new life he wants will give somebody permission to be able and to want to do the exact same. Look at that. Oh, thank you, Dave. I didn't, my hair, my rat woman hair. I wanted to feel good about myself and my dieting and stuff. And what I did is I wore my big pants to make me feel skinny, so everything felt loose. And I wore this shirt Look at the armpits on this shirt. Like, look how much weight I have lost. This shirt is so huge on me and it makes me feel good. So when I'm having a fat day, wearing the bigger clothes, it made me feel good. But at the same time, I wanted to look good, but I wanted to feel that the weight was coming off. So yeah, I wore my new pink hoops that cost $1. My enamel hoops, they're beautiful. I absolutely love them. My pink headband, and yeah, I wore my hair down because I didn't leave the house today. I wasn't going anywhere in public or anything. It was just kind of a casual day. And like I said, I was working on this lesson, which is going to end up being a TEDx talk, and it's all about the choices we make. Okay, everybody. I guess we'll see everybody next Sunday. That was a good live tonight, everybody. Thank you, Andrew, Owen, Robert, right? Thank you, Melvin, so much for popping in, and Nancy for popping in. Like, it was absolutely amazing. Thank you, everybody out there that's actually watching my lives. And, if you think about it and give me a thumbs up before you leave, that would be much appreciated, because that helps with the algorithm. Can't say that word. I have funny words that I have problems with, right? But it helps with that, so that, YouTube will push this video out a little bit more, that maybe it might be able to help somebody out. So, right? Yeah. This was a day of lessons. Boy, was this a day of lessons. I am exhausted, and I hope some of you are exhausted too. Okay, everybody. See you next Sunday. Bye-bye.